The runaway prophet, the story of Jonah. Sunlight streamed into Jonah's simple dwelling, illuminating dust, dancing in the still air. Jonah sat alone, his brows tightly furrowed. His eyes stared at an invisible point, and a trace of unease flickered within them. Suddenly, an unseen force pierced his thoughts. He slightly lifted his head. A voice sounded directly in his mind. "Arise, go to the great city of Nineveh and cry out against it, for their wickedness has come up before me." Jonah's eyes widened. Unwilling, he ran off. He hurried through the bustling port of Joppa, avoiding the crowds. Jonah saw a ship preparing to sail for Tarshish. A flash of hope crossed his anxious eyes. He hurriedly paid the fare, his movements quick and furtive, like a man fleeing from destiny. Jonah disappeared below deck, believing that this voyage would finally allow him to escape the inevitable will of God. Inside the cabin, Jonah lay on a simple berth as the ship rocked rhythmically. The salty sea breeze, whispering freedom, temporarily eased his tormented soul. A fleeting smile crossed his lips. He believed he had escaped God's pursuit. He closed his eyes. Weariness overcame him, and a deep sleep carried Jonah into a false peace. However, the Lord sent a great wind upon the sea. The sea grew violently stormy. Huge waves struck the deck, and the ship was nearly broken apart. The experienced sailors, fear etched upon their faces, desperately threw cargo overboard to lighten the ship. The vessel was violently tossed in the ocean's fury like a toy. Facing this sudden and powerful force of nature, the sailors clung to hope amid the overwhelming chaos. The captain rushed into the cabin, fury on his face, a storm brewing in his eyes. Jonah, unaware of the raging tempest above, was still sleeping peacefully. The captain shook Jonah awake and shouted, "Arise, call on your God. Perhaps God will consider us, that we may not perish." The crew gathered with grim faces. The tension was obvious as they prepared to cast lots to determine on whose account this disaster had come. As the lots were cast, a heavy silence filled the cabin. The air was thick with fear and expectation. The lot fell on Jonah as the cause of the disaster. The captain and the others shouted, "What is your occupation? Where do you come from? What is your country? Of what people are you?" Under the raging sky, the ship's deck pitched violently. The wind howled fiercely, mercilessly hurling the vessel. The frightened sailors surrounded Jonah, desperately demanding answers. Jonah confessed, "I am a Hebrew. I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land. I am fleeing from his presence." The sailors cried out, "What shall we do to you that the sea may become calm for us?" Jonah answered firmly, "Pick me up and throw me into the sea. This great storm has come because of me." Under the violent sky, the desperate sailors struggled against the roaring storm, trying to row the ship back to land, but they could not. The ship was violently tossed by the massive waves. With painful cries and prayers, they threw Jonah into the surging sea. The moment Jonah entered the water, the raging sea became calm. The fierce wind disappeared. The towering waves turned into peaceful waters. As the sailors stared at the sudden miraculous calm, a deep sense of awe rose within them. Jonah was plunged into the cold abyss and instantly swallowed by a massive hollow mouth. A great fish swallowed Jonah into its belly. Around him was thick, slippery slime. Jonah was as if in the depths of the abyss, a terrifying prison of flesh, where he endured a living nightmare for 3 days and 3 nights. In that desperate depth, he whispered prayers to God, repenting of his disobedience. He called for divine redemption and made vows to God. His prayer reached before the Lord. Under bright sky, the great fish leapt above the sea. Its enormous body formed a dark silhouette against the sunlit coastline. When it reached the shore, the fish opened its mouth and violently expelled Jonah onto the golden sand. Jonah lay on the beach, soaked through, giving off a nauseating smell of fish. His chest heaved violently. Every breath reminded him that he had escaped from the abyss. His eyes, wide with disbelief and relief, gazed at the vast sky. Suddenly, a loud voice came to Jonah again. "Jonah, arise, go to the great city of Nineveh, and proclaim to it the message I tell you." This time, Jonah did not run. Jonah arose according to the word of God and went to Nineveh. He walked for many days under the merciless sun. An entirely new world awaited him. Finally, the massive walls of Nineveh came into view, stretching endlessly. The city was vast, a great metropolis. It required a full 3 days to walk across it. Jonah walked through the bustling streets. A visible unease hung over the vibrant city life. His voice rang out loudly, "Yet 40 days, and Nineveh shall be overthrown." Jonah's proclamation echoed through the crowded streets. The people of Nineveh were shocked by his words. Sudden fear and astonishment were etched upon their faces. They believed Jonah's message. They proclaimed a fast. From the greatest to the least, they put on sackcloth and deeply repented before God. Even the king of Nineveh issued a decree, commanding that neither man nor beast, herd nor flock should taste anything. They were not to eat or drink water. Both people and animals were to be covered with sackcloth and cry out earnestly to God. They turned away from their evil ways and abandoned the violence in their hands. The entire city united in calling upon God. God saw their actions, that they had turned from their evil way. He relented and did not bring upon them the disaster he had threatened. Under the blazing sun, Jonah stood alone outside the city of Nineveh on a dusty plain. Anger was carved upon his face, out of place with the peaceful scene before him. In his heart, he had expected Nineveh to receive God's punishment. Looking upward, clenching his fists, he prayed, "O Lord, was this not what I said when I was still in my country? I knew that you are a gracious and merciful God, slow to anger and abundant in loving kindness, and one who relents from sending disaster." Bitterness filled Jonah's heart. Was this not the very reason he had fled to Tarshish? In despair, he cried out, "Now, O Lord, please take my life from me, for it is better for me to die than to live." Then Jonah went out of the city and made himself a shelter east of the city. He sat under its shade to see what would happen to the city. A plant sprang up from the ground. Its broad leaves spread out, providing shade for Jonah. The next day, a worm appeared and chewed at the plant's stem, causing it to wither. When the sun rose, a scorching east wind swept in, intensifying the suffocating heat. The sun beat down mercilessly on Jonah. The relentless heat made him faint and miserable. His face twisted in pain, and he again wished for death, saying, "It is better for me to die than to live." Facing Jonah's anger, the word of God came to him again. "Is it right for you to be angry about the plant? You did not plant it, nor did you make it grow. It sprang up in a night and perished in a night. Yet you have compassion on it. Should I not have compassion on Nineveh, that great city in which are more than 120,000 persons who cannot discern between their right hand and their left, and also many animals?" At last, Jonah awakened to understanding and lowered his head in shame.